Mesdames et messieurs, Solstice Realty de Jacques Guillaume.
Bonjour tout le monde, je crois que tout le monde a passé un bon Noël. Avant qu'il m'aille plus loin, je tout prendre l'opportunité ça pour me souhaiter tout le monde bonne année 2016 et me souhaiter année 2016 là pour jouer pile monde en santé d'abord parce que la santé c'est un facteur qui est important après bon Dieu dans la vie au monde. Donc welcome, bienvenue à show Solstice Realty tous les samedis de 11h à midi. Jeudi nous gagnons 3 invités spéciaux, nous avons 3 segments dans show nous gagnons avocat attorney Ronald Cappucio et puis nous gagnons madame Janna Thomas et puis nous gagnons monsieur Bony Coulanges tout qui est dans show avec nous. Agenda nous aujourd'hui nous allons parler sur le monde qui parle investi dans résidentiel, c'est-à-dire qui a acheté un property, so it's a house, a duplex, or triplex, or quadruplex, or maybe a condo, a townhouse. Mais avant que nous rentrions d'emblée dans le show, nous connaissons toujours les disclosures pour nous. Chose à les recorder et puis la publier online. Intervention auditeur qui doit pas refléter le point de vue de Solstice Realty avec tout agent lié et avec staff Radio Puissance Inter. Donc, Solstice Realty est responsable pour toute information qui est publiée dans le show. Donc, de ce fait, nous avons tout droit pour nous modifier le podcast ça. Avant que nous publions online. So I'm going to switch to the English side. I just want to let everybody know that this show is being recorded. Ideas from our listeners may not reflect the point of view of Solstice Realty and the staff of the station. So Solstice Realty is responsible for the content of this radio show, and then we have all the right to modify the podcast before we publish them online. Donc, ma rentrée d'emblée dans le programme là, et puis tu me fais un check. Good morning.
Great.
We are live.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Perfect. So everything is working as planned. Okay. So we have 3 special guests on our show, and then of course we have a young lady and two gentlemen. So of course I had to introduce the lady first. Mrs. Janna Thomas. She is not new to the Haitian community. She has already provided loan services to some of our Haitian brothers and sisters. She's a native of Jacksonville, and she has served the greater city area for over 24 years is in residential real estate sales and home mortgage financing. And then she has been in the mortgage industry for over 15 years, and she has specialized in home renovation loans over the past 3 years. She is the renovation manager and mortgage banker for the Bank of England. I love her philosophy, which is to educate home buyers about the great city of Jacksonville and to enable buyers to live the American dream of home ownership and to help local communities become revitalized through the restoration and renovation of homes in the Northeast Florida. Mrs. Janna, are you there?
Yes, good morning, Jacques. How are you?
Good. Nice to have you. And I know you had a very good, a great Christmas. I know you were on vacation with Mr. Thomas, and I'm glad that you took the time to be with us on the air.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. And then next we have attorney Ronald Cappucio from New Jersey. He is a business and tax attorney with more than 35 years of tax and business law experience. His firm helps form businesses and helps them grow and increase their profitability. As a lawyer since 1976, he has been practicing in New Jersey for clients from all around the U.S. as well as multinational clients. Mr. Cappucio, thank you very much for accepting our invitation.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure, Jacques, and I wish a belated Merry Christmas to all of our listeners, and it's a pleasure to be on the show.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad to have you. Mr. Coulanges. Mr. Coulanges is the director of the radio station, and then he has years. When Coulanges started doing tax, I was not born yet. So tax is his motto. He knows any questions that you have about tax, Mr. Coulanges knows it inside out. And then he has his own business that he just opened in Jacksonville, Florida. And then one thing I can tell you of Mr. Coulanges, ever since that he landed in Jacksonville, he always has that positive attitude. He always brings that positive energy to anybody that he meets on his path. And I know Mr. Coulanges has served the Haitian community, although he has been here around for maybe 2 years, but his wisdom has gone for over a century. Mr. Coulanges.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Solstice. So I was not expecting all this, but I came to as a politician. I approved this message.
Okay. Very good. Okay, so the subject today, we have three major areas that we are going to cover. The first one is for individuals or group of individuals who want to invest in residential real estate. And the second one is for individuals who already had residential real estate and they want to convert it to a business. And the third one, if time permits, we'll talk about 1030 exchange or like-kind exchange. Now, here's how we are going to proceed. First, I'm going to ask Attorney Cappucio to guide our listeners who want to start investing in real estate. I mean, people who have not invested in real estate, how to create an LLC. And then I'm going to pull Janna Thomas to advise them, once you create that LLC, here are the guidelines on how to get qualified for a mortgage. And then Mr. Coulanges will jump in to talk about the tax benefit. Is that good? Are we good?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So,
Yes.
okay, perfect. So, Mr. Attorney Cappucio, I will let you take the lead to guide our new buyers or prospective investors or group of investors what they need to be aware of when they want to start investing in real estate.
Well, the first thing you should realize is liability limitation. When you invest in a property, even a single-family home that's an investment, you have personal liability unless you have either a corporation or an LLC to manage it and also to own the property. My suggestion, in the best form of entity in most cases, is an LLC, which stands for Limited Liability Company. And this is something where you would have your lawyer set up, and it would be set up in the state where you're doing business. So, for example, if you're there in Jacksonville, but you decide to invest in a property in Georgia, you might have your attorneys set up a Georgia limited liability company for that real estate. If it's in Florida, you would set up a Florida limited liability company. Does that make sense to you, Jacques?
Yes, actually, I just received the question because I always remind my listeners, they can call or text me the question. And then I received a question from somebody who lives in France. That person said, if I live in France and I want to invest in Florida, can I open an LLC in Florida?
Absolutely can. And as a matter of fact, I have a whole booklet that I would be more than willing to either mail or email to that person, so explaining how you can set up your business internationally. And frankly, I have many clients that I've never met physically, and we've set up businesses here in the U.S., and we simply use Skype, and we Skype back and forth, and between email and Skype, we get everything done. So you do not have to be a U.S. resident or a U.S. citizen to own a business in the United States. And that's true for any state in the country. So, for example, we have many, many investors who are businesses that invest in a U.S. entity here. And we could set up an LLC for them or a corporation, depending upon their local tax laws, and set it up. It's not hard.
Oh, okay, perfect. And then I'm going to read you a quote from Greg McFarlane. He said, limited liability means you can't be financially responsible for more than your investment in the company, which means if I invested $10,000 in my company, worst case scenario, that's all it's going to I'm going to lose. Is that correct?
Well, it's correct, except for the following. And that is, and this is where Mrs. Thomas will come in. If you have a mortgage, and the mortgage company usually wants the owners of the limited liability company to sign a personal guarantee on the mortgage. So, So there could be personal liability for that amount of the mortgage, and maybe you can confirm that with Mrs. Thomas, who has the mortgage experience.
Okay. All right. Since Mrs. Thomas, I know she's trying to unmute her phone. Yes. So, okay, let's wait for Mrs. Thomas to jump in and give us some guidance.
Yes, when you have an investment purchase for the owners of an LLC, it depends on how the LLC is structured and how many people are actually in the LLC as to what kind of liability would be required. Usually, an individual who's just starting to create an investment portfolio will purchase a home, in a second home or investment property in their name, and then transfer it into the LLC.
Okay. So now
it really depends on the structure.
Okay.
But see, one of the problems with doing that, Mrs. Thomas, and for the listeners, is if the mortgage has what's called a due-on-sale clause, as most do, and you transfer it to the LLC, you have to get permission of the mortgage company to do the transfer, or else the mortgage becomes due. So, for example, if it's just an individual, I recommend that the LLC be set up, and even though the individual is going to be personally liable for the mortgage, they're not going to have a liability for if someone slips and falls, and it's beyond insurance, for example.
Oh.
So, I mean, my recommendation is that owners set up the entity to actually acquire the company and to get the mortgage in that company.
Okay, let's keep it at this point. Okay, let's talk about on an individual basis. So let's say if I form an LLC today, and I walk to Bank of England and I say, you know what, I want to apply for a mortgage for my LLC. Now, Mrs. Thomas, take us from this point. What do our listeners need to know?
Well, it depends on the actual goal and purpose of what you're trying to accomplish by purchasing the property. If you're going to be purchasing a property to repair it, turn around, and resell it in a fairly quick manner, like 3 to 6 months, then you may not want to go through that process because we have to close in the name of a person, an individual. We cannot close in the name of an entity. When you start to close in company names, then it becomes commercial loans, not residential mortgages. So it's really an individual basis on what is the true purpose of the home that's being purchased. If the home is going to be purchased and held to become a landlord and to have it pay for itself through a few years, 3 to 5 years, I would definitely agree with the attorney that's online about LLCs. That's his speciality. But it depends on really what is the purpose of the property what is it being purchased for? Is it being purchased for a quick flip, for a fast investment, or it should be held for a retirement plan, or what is that goal? That's something that the consumer needs to identify.
Okay, so basically, if it is for flipping purposes, you just buy something and you do the renovation, so you can just put that loan on that mortgage on your name because you won't keep that property for not more than 1 or 2 years. Is that what you are saying? If you are just planning to flip it.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
No, I said if you are planning to flip the property, so there is no need to go through the process of putting on the LLC. You can just put it on your name, and after a year, you can flip it, right?
Well, you can sell it at any time. It just depends on the person that's buying it. I mean, the no flipping rule is a 90-day rule currently. So really, they only have to keep the property for 90 days.
Okay. Yeah, but basically, go ahead, Ron. Go ahead, Ron.
I think, Jacques, I want to interrupt here. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I want to interrupt is there's 2 different scenarios. One is buying the property and doing minor things, such as painting and maybe some basic decorating kind of things, and not substantial amounts of work. And then it's okay to be in the individual name. But if you're going to actually rehab the building and, do kitchens, electrical, and do substantial work, absolutely that building should be in an LLC. Even though it's going to mean a commercial loan and a slightly higher mortgage rate and a little higher standards, you absolutely need that because you want the liability protection.
Yeah, so
because while you're doing...
Yeah. Ok, give me 1 second. Pour tout le monde qui fait brancher ou dans des émissions Solstice Realty, et nous gagnons avocat Ronald Cappucio, et puis avec Madame Janna Thomas, avec Monsieur Bony Coulanges sous ligne. Et puis nous allons parler sur le monde qui a intention d'investir dans real estate. Et puis, donc, si vous avez une question besoin poser, vous pouvez appeler dans 904 786 2400. So, 2400. For everyone who just tuned in, you are listening to Solstice Realty radio show on 15:30 a.m. Radio Puissance Inter. We have Mrs. Janna Thomas from Bank of England and then attorney Ronald Cappucio and avec Monsieur and Mr. Bony Coulanges. If you have any questions, feel free to call us on 904-786-2400. Okay, yes, so we are still on that same topic. Now, what if, Ron, what if a group of individuals, they want to create an LLC, what are how would you guide them in that process?
Well, the first thing I would do is say how they want to manage the company. Sometimes the individuals say, look, one person is going to run the company and the other people are going to be the investors. In that case, I would set it up so that that one person is the manager of the company and makes the basic decisions, not the big ones like buying and selling, but makes the day-to-day decisions, and the other people are just investors. And so we would have an LLC set up and a document called an operating agreement. And this is the most important thing in an LLC anywhere in the country. Because an LLC, unlike a corporation, an LLC is as flexible as you and your attorneys are in thinking of what to do. So, for example, we could have a situation, Jacques, where let's say all four of us decide to get together and set up an LLC, and each put $10,000 into it, and we're going to buy a property for $100,000. And we say, well, Jacques, you're the real expert in this and in rehabbing and stuff, so you're going to be the manager. And Mrs. Thomas, Mr. Coulanges, and I, we're all going to be members and we'll be equal owners, but you're going to manage the company and you're going to set it up and you're going to pick the property and help us sell it. And then if we need to do rehab work, we hire a rehab company to do that for us.
Okay, perfect. And I'm going to bring Coulanges in to give us some guidance onto the tax benefits for having an LLC. Coulanges, I know you are muted, but I'm going to give you a few seconds to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Mr. Coulanges being muted is a real rarity.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. You're live, yes.
Well, I'm so happy. I'm so excited. Not only we are, real estate and business, and now today we have a tax expert, licensed attorney online. And if you want, I'm not taking the fifth today, but I am telling you, my mentor, my tax attorney, my tax teacher is here with us today. I will switch the questions to one and to actually, because he's an attorney, he's an expert, and he's been doing that for 39 years. Actually, I'm a student of his. So, and one, can you, we understand that actually, as you mentioned, people intended to, when they invested in real estate, and tax-wise, and we know there's a ton of benefits for them. If it is a single LLC, and then at the end of the year, not only they can claim the expense, but if they have loss, they can actually transfer the loss of that property investment, even it is on the name of, even it's under an LLC, but there's possibility to transfer the loss on their 1040 to minimize or reduce the taxable income. Can you pick up from there for me, Juan?
Well, Bony, you're absolutely correct. Even if they only have one property and it's an LLC, that will go onto their individual tax return at up to $25,000 a year of loss, and that loss includes depreciation. And a lot of people don't understand the concept, but every year you get to deduct a certain amount of the value of your property from your taxes.
And also, yeah, go ahead, Juan.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, also, if they invested in, if the property is in another state from where the individual lives, actually they can enjoy traveling expense to even visit the property on an annual basis, and that should be good expense for them and experience.
Absolutely. That would be part of the business expense. But of course, as you know, being an expert tax preparer, they must keep records. When you're in business, you must keep good records.
Yes. Okay.
Definitely one. As far as the one thing I know that you debated on it already, but in terms of partnership, and can somebody, while they invested in property investment, and at the same time they can be limit themselves in terms of loss or liability according to the operating agreement or as a part of the LLC, and be investing and without taking the risk.
And that's what it is. And the limited liability company allows that whole process. So that's what you want to do as a form of entity for most people. Now, for example, earlier Jacques mentioned he had a contact, someone calling in from France. Well, that person from France may be a member of an LLC. For example, if several people got together, that person could be a member, but they may actually want to set up a special separate corporation to own their membership interest. It's a little more complex for people who are not U.S. residents or U.S. citizens, but it absolutely can be done, and we do it all the time. But once again, you need to have a lawyer help plan this, and it requires thinking. There's no automatic form or button that you can press and out will spit the correct stuff. It requires thinking and individual planning.
Okay.
Yes, well, the other thing, the last one probably, I'll let Jacques take over unless there's other questions. But a lot of people think because they can go on the state secretary website or the government website and put out their credit cards and have a corporate create an LLC themselves without the need of an attorney. But although this, we also understand that they have a generic version of what most people use, and which they can just put their name in the manager of that corporation, but it absolutely mean nothing in terms of protection because they don't know what to ask and what to put down.
Bony, absolutely. It would be like going and buying a book, and when you open the book, it has a pretty cover on it, and then all the pages are blank. That's what you do when you go online with the Secretary of State and do it. You're doing the cover page. That's all you're doing. The rest of the book is blank. And that's where the thinking comes in.
Yes.
It doesn't take much to go online and press a few buttons and set it up and notify the state that you're an LLC. What it takes is the thinking to do the operating agreement, which is the agreement between the parties.
Yes, and then also without an operating agreement, if you invest with one or two people, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, you will not be in business for long because the operating agreement is basically a meeting of the minds between the investors. Now, we are going to take a short break. I know, I will call it a sip of water break, and then we'll come back. And when we come back, we'll talk for individuals or group of individuals who already invested in real estate. I mean, they do have properties, but who would like to switch them over to an LLC, and then that's what we'll talk about. And then one will, I'm going to start with Janna Thomas, Mrs. Thomas, when I come back, and then one will piggyback. We'll take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Hello, non moi c'est Jacques, Guillaume.
Hello, my name is Marie-Danielle Guillaume.
Moi invite au bouton de Solstice Realty tous les samedis de 11h à midi pour nous répondre toutes questions sur real estate pour à bord de 1530 AM Radio Puissance Intérieure.
We invite you to listen to the Solstice Realty radio show every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Call us with questions at 904-786-2400. And for more information, call us or text us at 904-386-1726 or call call the office at 904-886-3100.
Ou capable toujours les radios à 904-786-2400. Et pour plus d'informations, ou capable toujours contacter nous dans 904-386-1726 ou bien capable les office là dans 904-886-3100. Ou capable toujours contacter n'importe agent Solstice Realty.
And if you did not get a chance to listen to the Solstice Realty radio show, you may listen to the program on YouTube by searching Solstice Realty.
Ça fait longtemps non pas ouais comment bagaille.
Mon cher, nous là n'a frappé ça n'est fait.
Mon cher, m'a fait des marches pour nous capable venir habiter dans Floride très bientôt avec toute famille là. Est-ce que vous référez à une compagnie qui fait real estate pour aider dans le processus ça?
Bon, m'a bao Solstice Realty avec tout agent lié qui a bay bon service real estate en Haïti et en Floride. Ou ka toujours aller sur site yo qui c'est www.solsticerealty.net ou bien ka relé dans 904 886 3100.
Est-ce que son G majorité seulement les teams qui ont caille dans Floride et puis tout n'a refusé payer. Est-ce que Solstice Realty fait property management?
Bien sûr mon vieux, n'a loué Kaila collecter loyer chaque mois à l'heure pour Marjorie.
Merci en pile cousin. Eh bien, si c'est comme ça, yo caille dem vendre caille moyen dans New York.
Pour Kai Paula, n'a cherché un agent qui vous vient lister Kaila pour mettre li à vendre pour sans être chargé. Just faire nous connaître leur prêt.
Cousin, avant aller, maman me gen 3 caille Haïti actuellement. Yon déjà dans loyage et puis 2 l'autre yo vide. Est-ce que vous avez une compagnie qui a aidé en Haïti?
Bien sûr, nous avons service en Haïti tout. So allez sur www.solsticerealty.net et puis cliquez sur Haïti pour avoir tout argent que nous gagnons à Haïti et avec toute propriété que nous avons nous avons loué à Haïti.
Solstice Realty ça ou pas gagné ou pas fait même. Mais est-ce que monsieur ça a marié mon?
Non. Solstice pas marié mon. Solstice c'est placer nous placer mon dans caille.
Mesdames et messieurs, Solstice Realty de Jacques Guillaume.
Bonsoir tout le monde, nous sommes de retour pour nous tous qui fait rentrer ou attendre des émissions Solstice Realty. Nous gagnons Monsieur Michael Paul qui est en studio avec nous et puis nous gagnons en ligne Madame Janna Thomas de Bank of England et puis avec Attorney Ronald Cappucio et avec Monsieur Bony Coulanges. Et puis, on a parlé sur le monde qui a intention d'investir dans real estate, c'est-à-dire on a parlé de résidentiel, nous pas parlé de commercial aujourd'hui. Donc, nous finissons avec le premier point dans le programme. Deuxième point que nous parlons développer, c'est pour les gens qui ont une propriété déjà, qui sont dans eux, ils doivent avoir 3-4 cailles sur nous, et puis qui t'avaient mettez cailles sur une entité, par exemple une LLC. Donc, c'est sur ça que nous parlons parler. All right, so we are back, and for everybody who just tuned in, you are listening to Solstice Realty Radio Show, and then I have Mrs. Janna Thomas from Bank of England on the other line with us, with Attorney Ronald Cappucio and Mr. Bony Coulanges, and Mr. Michael Paul just walked in the studio, and he's here with us. Okay, so Janna, Mrs. Thomas, from a mortgage point of view, let's say if somebody had 3 or 4 houses, what are the steps, or if possible, can they switch those properties over to an LLC?
Yes, they can switch the properties over to an LLC. What I think it might be an opportunity to talk about here, Jacques, is for that first-time investor that's looking to expand their portfolio, and how can they do that through your real estate services and through financing? So the first time someone is looking to buy an investment property, of course they need to go ahead and start the pre-qualification process with their local lender and go ahead and qualify. They have to qualify with their current home that they own as well as the new home that they're going to be buying, and then there are reserve requirements. So they need to start with that first step of getting pre-qualified before they contact you to go and find that investment property.
Perfect.
Once they find that investment property, they can then look at the option of how they're going to purchase it. Is it a 40-mile radius from their primary residence, because then it could be considered a second home, or is it within that 40-mile radius where they want to consider it an investment property? The interest rates are slightly higher for an investment property, so it's something they really need to discuss with you and with the lender.
Yes, and one thing I must say to everybody who is listening to this radio show, Mrs. Thomas does an excellent job serving the Haitian community, and then she already did. She already proved herself, and I can tell you that. For me to work with a loan officer, you have to be flexible. You have to be able to communicate, and that's the key about Mrs. Thomas. I mean, she is a very good communicator. She will explain everything to you. I mean, you may not like what you hear, but she's going to tell you the truth. Okay. All right. So let's switch over to Ron. Ron, I will let you take it from here, from a legal standpoint.
Well, from the legal standpoint, what would happen is the person that owns several properties, they would go to their attorney. We would set up a limited liability company, do the operating agreement and the various items, and then they would have to contact the mortgage company to make sure that the mortgage company will approve the transfer, and then it's a matter of deeding the properties from the individuals or the group of individuals to the LLC. And maybe Mrs. Thomas can comment on what the process would be to getting the mortgage company to approve the transfer.
Okay, Ron,
Actually,
Go ahead.
Ron, I've never actually had someone have to get that approval. It's always, if the deed is recorded, it should be in natural flow without having to have the approval from the servicing mortgage company.
Well, that's excellent.
Okay.
And so, in some cases, it depends upon the company, and as Mrs. Thomas said, the servicing mortgage company. And if they don't need that approval, it's wonderful, because then what can happen, the property is then owned by the limited liability company. The people must remember to change all these items into the LLC. That means their insurance that they have on it needs to name the limited liability company as the insured. It means changing the utilities over, changing the notices to any of the suppliers to these properties that the LLC owns it.
Okay.
And also, if there's tenants that are actively involved, your lawyer would prepare a letter that you would send to them, switching over the security deposit as well as any future payments to the LLC.
Okay. Ron, we have a phone call. Let me pull the person in. Hello, you on the air.
Yeah, this is Marie Guillaume. I have a quick question now. If, for instance, that you have your private property and you're trying to transfer it, if you do that without the approval of the mortgage company, wouldn't that be a problem? Because now it looks like it's a different entity that owns the house. Could you please elaborate on that?
Yes, go ahead, Ron.
I'll take it. The end.
Yeah, I mean, I have found that it can be a problem with some banks and some financial institutions. So it depends upon the institution. Some of them will just automatically say, yes, you can transfer it, because remember, you as the owner originally are still liable on the note, and you're liable on the mortgage, and they will permit it to be transferred, but you're still going to be personally liable for the note and mortgage, but you're not going to be liable for the other things, such as someone slipping and falling and getting hurt beyond the value of insurance, for example.
Oh, okay. Ron,
Does that answer your question?
Ron, I think what you said makes perfect sense. So basically, let's say if I own 2 or 3 properties and the mortgages are on my name. So yes, my bank or one of my banks may agree for me to switch the title to my LLC, but the mortgage will still be on my name no matter what, right?
Exactly. The mortgage note.
Yeah.
You will owe the money.
Yeah. Okay. Now.
And the LLC would hold his risk.
Yeah, so I think
that's right.
Yes, so I think the bank might be more flexible in case of an individual investor versus a group of investors. Right.
Well, it's easier. It's only easier because you have less things to get approved.
Okay.
But I actually closed a transaction that was quite large on the 23rd of this month, just right before Christmas Eve, and we had a multiple thing where we had about 5 different people owning a limited liability company, and the bank approved a very large mortgage, and frankly, not all of the owners had to sign personal guarantees, and it was for the purchase of an apartment building.
Okay.
All right, so a multifamily, residential unit. and the bank was able to do that. But that took quite a bit of negotiation.
Okay.
With single-family homes, it's actually much easier.
Perfect. Okay, we have...
Right, and Ron, if I may step in for just a moment.
Go ahead.
When you are doing investment property, you could use residential financing for units that are 1 to 4 units. So a single-family home, a duplex, a triplex, or a quadplex. Once you go over a 4-unit property, then you would be looking at commercial financing for those larger units or apartment complex buildings. So the rules for qualifying on those two separate sides are going to be different.
Okay.
So just wanted to put that note out there for the listening.
Yes.
And Mrs. Thomas, it's much easier to get the single-family residence qualified than it is for that apartment complex or strip center.
Yes, Mrs. Thomas, I'm glad that you opened that. Give us a brief definition of a residential property. So it's a house, a duplex, or triplex, or quadruplex, or maybe a condo, a townhouse. So we are talking about these types of investment. We have a phone call. Let me pull that person in. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, my other thing I want to specify, if somebody wants to do an LLC, they will need to do that LLC under their for themselves only. Don't have a group of investors. If you know that you're going to use one of your personal houses to add to that investment. So people don't know that if you say you are going to have that LLC and you're going to have different owners for that company, don't mix your personal property with that of the LLC. So let's say, for instance, I were to own one house. So if I do the LLC, I will do the LLC just for that one house that I have. Or if I buy other houses, I buy them on my own LLC company. But for those people who want to invest and want to have a group of investors that are going to do LLCs, open an LLC company, then they need to do that and then purchase houses instead of using their own houses and connect it to the LLC. Do you understand what I mean?
So you don't want them to commingle?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much
because
for
it will not be beneficial to them, just in case there are liabilities, because you still own the mortgage, and you don't want to own the mortgage and then having other people having,
I don't think the bank will accept that, will entertain that, because, I mean, that will clutter the title. I will let Ron jump on that. Go ahead, Ron.
Well, the idea is if you own an investment property on your own and you're having other people invest in that property, you can set up a limited liability company so that you isolate what you own versus what the other people own. Remember, that's what the operating agreement does. It allows it to be totally flexible, so you can be protected under the LLC, and the other people can also have what's theirs, and you can have what's yours. It's not everyone has an equal amount. It's whatever you decide. So I have a situation all the time where people may have 2 or 3 investment properties, and then they're going with someone else, many times a family member, that also has 2 or 3 investment properties. And we combine them together in an LLC, and there's different rights to each of the owner based upon the properties. So this allows them to have common management and limited liability protection, yet they're, just like you said, the liabilities are limited as well to the individuals.
Exactly.
It can be done. You just have to think.
And let's say, Ron, if you don't mind, if somebody buying more than one property, is it beneficial to have all the properties under one LLC, or they can actually have a separate LLC for each property?
My advice would be to limit the number of properties in the LLC. For example, if you're buying a condo units in the same complex, then I would keep them under the same LLC. But if you're buying 2 different properties that have no relationships to each other, it's much better to have 2 separate LLCs, because on your tax return, it's the same thing for tax purposes. For tax purposes, as Bony will explain to you, it all passes to the Schedule E, so it doesn't matter that they're 2 separate LLCs, but it protects you for liability.
Okay.
In other words, if there's one property has got in trouble, and that doesn't mean that property will expose the other ones.
Exactly. You said it very clearly.
Okay.
Surely.
Okay, perfect. Give me 1 second, please. So, for everybody who just tuned in, you are listening to Solstice Realty Radio Show. And then with us, we have Mrs. Janna Thomas from Bank of England, and then Attorney Ronald Cappucio and Mr. Bony Coulanges. Now, I just received a text message from an individual, and then basically what he said, he has been investing with his mom. They have close to 8 houses together. Would it be safer to create an LLC for the two of them? Or should he just put the LLC on his name because his mom is getting age? Go ahead, Ron.
You absolutely want to have both of them on it, because and the reason you want to have both on it is when you have commercial properties, which is, remember, an individual home that you're renting out is commercial for tax purposes. So you're getting depreciation and deductions. So even though the property may be going up, its tax basis is going down. So having his older mom on it is a great idea, because if his mom should happen to die, not that we want her to die, but if she should happen to die owning the LLC thing, the property gets stepped up in the basis for her half. So what would happen is, on sale of it, you would be paying less taxes. So my advice would be absolutely to keep her in it, but to once again put the control in this investor, in the son. Let the son control it, and let the mom be a non-managing person.
Okay.
Or non-managing member.
Okay, and then he just texted me one more question. He said, well, he never had any operating agreement with his mom, and then the investment is not really 50-50. So should he hire an attorney to draft an operating agreement? Because in case if his mom passes away, he knows that he invests more than his mom. So what would you guide him?
My guidance would be absolutely have an operating agreement drafted for the LLC, which lists who owns what and also the managerial control. The operating agreement is going to control how it's done for tax purposes. It's crucial in this case.
Ok. Alright, so pour tout le monde qui fait brancher au plan de l'émission Solstice Realty, nous avons Madame Janna Thomas de Bank of England sur l'autre ligne là, avec un avocat Ronald Cappucio, avec M. Bony Coulanges, et puis nous avons M. Michael Paul dans le studio. Donc si nous avons des questions, pas hésiter à relayer dans la station, 904-786-2400. Okay, now the next subject, last point in our segment for today is the 1031 exchange, like-kind exchange. Now, one, I will let you expound on that, Mr. Cappucio.
Well, it's actually a simple concept. If you have one property that you have a gain in, and you want to sell that property and you want to buy another property, if you do a like-kind exchange, you're not going to have to pay tax on the property that you have the gain. You're going to transfer the basis to the new property, and then you're deferring the income tax that you would have to pay on it. So it can be very, very tax advantageous and save you a lot of money.
Okay, now...
And, you know, this is...
Go ahead, Ron. Go ahead. Now, I was just going to ask you, does the property have to be free and clear?
No, not at all. I just did a transaction where it happened to be a $3 million transaction, and the property had a $2.5 million mortgage on it. And the purchase of the next property was actually for more and had an even greater mortgage, and so there was no income tax to be paid on a huge amount of profit for these clients.
Okay. Now
they saved over $750,000 in tax.
Okay. We have an incoming call, and when we come back, we'll bring Mrs. Thomas in from the mortgage standpoint when it comes to 1030 exchange. Give me 1 second, please. Good morning. You are in the air.
Good morning, Jacques. This is VJ. How are you doing?
Hey, my friend, how are you doing?
Okay. I just heard your caller, your Ron talking about a 1031 exchange, and what he said was true, but it has to be understood that any boot received would be taxable under that exchange. Any boot received or given would be taxable under that exchange.
And that's absolutely correct. The term boot means, for example, if you do an exchange and there's an amount of cash that comes to you or your investment is less, that boot is a tax term. And that means so there will be a certain amount of gain that will be recognized and a certain amount of gain will be deferred. That's an excellent comment on the part of your caller.
Thank you very much, VJ. Good point. I do recall the word boot from real estate class. So.
Yes. And the other thing is, you also have to understand on a 1031 exchange is that the basis is transferred, but you cannot have a loss on a 1031 exchange.
Okay.
That's also a tax implication that you have to take into effect.
Okay.
So,
well, absolutely. So if you have a loss, you don't want to do a 1031 exchange. If you have a loss, you want to take the loss. You want to do a sale and then a repurchase. But the 1031 exchange is only an advantage if it's a gain, because you want to defer the gain. But the loss you want to take now, usually.
And it also has to be like-kind exchange. So, for example, you can exchange an apartment building for another apartment building, but you can't exchange an apartment building for a factory, for example. Exchanges have to be like-kind.
Pardon me, that's not true. That is absolutely not true. They're both considered commercial real estate. You can exchange an apartment building for an office building, for a factory building, actually for commercial real estate, land that's going to be developed. They're all commercial properties. That's all like kind. So it doesn't have to be apartment building for apartment building. So the definition of like kind is that it is an investment real estate. It's not personal use real estate. And like kind means real estate. In that factory building, if there were machinery and equipment, that's not like kind with real estate.
Okay.
Right, yes. That's what I was trying to say, yes.
Building for a warehouse or a factory building.
Okay. Well, I greatly appreciate the phone call, VJ. And then I'm going to bring Mrs. Thomas in, and then after that we'll conclude the conversation because it's almost time to say goodbye to you. I mean, it was a very productive conference call or presentation. Now, I'm going to bring Mrs. Thomas in, and then she can give us some point from the like-kind exchange on the mortgage standpoint, and then we'll go ahead and conclude. Go ahead, Mrs. Thomas.
Sure. First of all, we always recommend that you work with an attorney that is familiar with the exchange processes and the exchange rules and regulations. We recommend that you speak with them first prior to attempting to do the sale of a home or the purchase of another home or like-kind property so that you do understand the rules and regulations that apply to it. Secondly, when it comes to the mortgage, the funds that you're going to be transferring or exchanging from one to the other, basically we just have to see the closing disclosure, which is the new settlement statement. We would have to see those funds that were there to be exchanged and then transfer them over at time of closing on the new property. So from a lending standpoint, it basically works as your funds for closing and your down payment or however you want to transfer that over.
Okay, perfect. I want to say thank you to all of you for participating in this. I would say, is that a cyber face-to-face? I mean, we are not face-to-face, but we are we are very close. Yeah, and I want to say Happy New Year to all of you, and I hope that the new year will bring you good health, and then you will continue educating everybody around you. And of course, we always say ladies first, so I'm going to let Mrs. Thomas give us her final word.
Thank you so much for having me on your show today. We want to always encourage everyone in our local communities to explore the opportunities of becoming an investor and building and expanding upon your personal portfolio in our local areas. So thank you so much for listening to the show, and any inquiries, Jacques or myself can help you with the start process.
I will definitely do that.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And anybody who needs to reach Mrs. Thomas, let me give you her office number. It's 904-992-1000. So it's 904-992-1000. And now, Mr. Attorney Cappucio, Ron, we always call, he goes by Ron, but he's a very good guy, very flexible. And I really appreciate the fact that you take the time on a Saturday to be on the air with us. And I'm going to wish you all the best for the new year. And I know, you said, you have been doing, you have been an attorney for 37 years. So, you have 60 more years on top of your belt. So, so you can, so you can count that. And then I will let you give us your final words.
Well, thank you very much, and of course, Happy New Year's to you and our listeners. And you can tell the listeners that if they have any questions and they want one of my booklets or brochures, that they can actually call your company and ask for you, and you will get their information and get it to me, and I will be happy to send them a brochure or a booklet for free, no obligations, no tie-ins. It's just something that I do. Or they can call my office directly at 856-665-2121. Once again, that's 856-665-2121. But call Solstice Realty and say, I want Ron's book, and we'll get it to you.
Perfect. So, pour tout le monde qui a une question pour monsieur, pour avocat Cappucio, nous pouvons appeler 856-665-2121. Or you can go to his website, which is taxesq.com. So it's tax ESQ. It's like Esquire, the abbreviation for Esquire, and .com, and you will find a wealth of information. And then also we have our good friend and Mr. Bony Coulanges, a very positive guy. Anything that you need, he will always be there, no matter how late. And he's I would say, Bony was the missing link for our community. And then Bony, I wish you good health for the new year. I wish you more strength, more dollarity, more everything that you have yearned for. And so you have the final word, Mr. Coulanges.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Solstice.
I thought I was about to
Solstice University, and that's where we bring all the experts. And so it's a privilege to serve, and at all time. And I wish everybody a very good year, and many more. And thanks again for the opportunity and for the acknowledgement.
Yes, and then also we have Mr. Vijay. Vijay, are you still there? Vijay, it seems that he is muted. Okay, well, thank you very much for being with us today. And I have Mr. Michael, who has been with me throughout the year as my co-host, and he's going to say a few words and introduce our realtor, and we'll conclude.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your participation. Ok, mesdames et messieurs, donc c'est toujours un plaisir de t'aider à micro ça avec M. Jacques Guillaume. L'année prochaine, nous va contre ça qu'à privé, mais tout le monde bonne santé, et puis c'est santé avant tout, et puis ensuite dollarité, parce que nous avons besoin de dollars pour nous servir dans le pays ça. Donc il y a un bon au téléphone zami ça, téléphone zami ça de Solstice Realty, monsieur Cadet c'est 442 47 60. Monsieur Fertile, 699 64 12, et Monsieur Thomas, 860 39 13, et Monsieur Fanor, 600 81 05, et Monsieur Étienne, 405 23 46, et Monsieur Michael Paul, 254 93 74, et nous connaissons Monsieur Jacques Guillaume, numéro c'est 386 17 26. Monsieur Jacques Guillaume, c'est toujours un plaisir d'être ici et partager le travail à avoir. Bonne santé et meilleurs vœux.
Moi aussi, c'est un plaisir pour nous. Nous passer toute l'année dans le studio. And we are still live.
Yes. Thanks to the Lord.
Hello, non, moi c'est Jacques, Guillaume.
Hello, my name is Marie-Danielle Guillaume.
Moi invite pour tendre Solstice Realty tous les samedis de 11h à midi. Côté n'a répondre toutes questions sur real estate pour à bord de 1530 AM Radio Puissance Inter.
We invite you to listen to the Solstice Realty radio show every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Call us with questions at 904-786-2400. And for more information, call us or text us at 904-386-1726 or call the office at 904-886-3100.
Ou capable toujours les radios à 904-786-2400. Et pour plus d'informations, ou capable toujours contacter nous dans 904-386-1726 ou bien capable les office là dans 904-886-3100. Ou capable toujours contacter n'importe agent Solstice Realty.
And if you did not get a chance to listen to the Solstice Realty radio show, you may listen to the program on YouTube by searching Solstice Realty.
Bon, mesdames et messieurs, il faut que moi dise nous tout. D'abord, moi merci nous parce que nous t'attendons des choses ça. Et choses ça est possible à cause de monde qui supporte nous et puis nous pendant toute l'année nous gagnons First Choice Insurance of America de monsieur Al Oxy. Donc pour tout besoin d'assurance pour CAI, santé toute bagaille. Depuis le game assurance donc les pasteur Oxy dans 904 732 1818. Et puis tout pour mon un problème plumbing là donc contactez monsieur Rodney Robillard dans 904 444 46 14 904 444 46 14 et pour air conditionné nous pouvons contacter monsieur Stanley Louis qui est longtemps Jacksonville dans 904 554 06 30 904 554 06 30 et monsieur et pour air conditionné encore nous gagnons monsieur Nick Anthony dans area code 770 540 3701 area code 770 540 3701 on doit text Nick à 1h du matin la répondre. I'm just kidding. Et puis pour assurance nous avons contacté Allstate Insurance Company de madame Jolita Ray dans 904 309 5607 904 309 5607 pour nous supporter une très bonne vision. Et puis, nous avons continué à faire ça. Et puis, donc, nous avons dit merci à tout le monde qui a attendu l'émission. Nous avons dit merci à M. Michael Paul, qui a fait acte de présence. Et merci à DJ Woody et Silencieux, qui a préparé theme song et préparé adieu pour nous. Et merci à M. Yvan Rilus et voir M. Xou à plaçage là.
Cousin, ça fait longtemps non pas ouais, comment bagaille.
Mon cher, nous là n'a frappé ça n'est fait.
Mon cher, m'a fait des marches pour nous capable venir habiter dans Floride très bientôt avec toute famille là. Est-ce que vous référez à une compagnie qui fait real estate pour aider dans le processus ça?
Bon, m'a bao Solstice Realty avec tout agent lié qui a bail bon service real estate en Haïti et en Floride. Vous pouvez toujours aller sur le site qui c'est www.solsticerealty.net ou bien vous aller dans 904 886 3100.
Est-ce que son G majorité Semna, les teams qui ont caille dans Floride et puis tenant refusé payer. Est-ce que Solstice Realty fait property management?
Bien sûr mon vieux, n'a loué caille là, collecter loyer chaque mois à l'heure pour Marjorie.
Merci en pile cousin. Eh bien, si c'est comme ça, yo caille dem vendre caille moyen dans New York tout.
Pour caille Paula, n'a cherché un agent qui vous vient lister caille là pour mettre li à vendre pour sans être chargé. Juste faire nous connaître leur prêt.
Cousin, avant aller, maman me gagne 3 cailles Haïti actuellement. Yon déjà dans loyage et puis 2 l'autre yo vide. Est-ce que vous avez une compagnie qui a aidé en Haïti?
Bien sûr, nous avons service en Haïti tout. So allez sur www.solsticerealty.net et puis cliquez sur Haïti pour avoir tout argent que nous gagnons à Haïti et avec toute propriété que nous avons nous loué à Haïti.
Solstice Realty ça ou pas gagner ou pas faire même. Mais est-ce que monsieur ça a marié mon?
Non. Solstice pas marié mon. Solstice c'est placer nous placer mon dans caille.
Vous êtes à la recherche d'une maison, townhouse, duplex, condominium, appartement, quelle que soit la largeur, achat, location, vente ou bâtir votre propre maison de rêve aux États-Unis, en Haïti, quel que soit l'endroit. Faites confiance aux agents de Solstice Realty de Jacques Guillaume. Prestigieusement installé au nord-est Florida, Solstice Realty de Jacques Guillaume, muni d'une caravane d'agents licenciés. Coût 3 professionnels dédiés à satisfaire les aspirations du décor même de la cuisine de votre famille. Également, une extérieur splendide préconçu de la maison qui rendra votre voisin jaloux. Vous comptez seulement acheter un terrain, louer votre maison, mettre un nouveau toit pour défier la saison cyclonique ou la rénovation du style et la technologie actuelle. Ils sont là à prendre soin de votre investissement ou leur poser toutes vos questions pertinentes concernant l'immobilier. Prenez votre téléphone, composez le 904 886 3100 ou contactez le PDG lui-même, le sympathique Jacques Guillaume, au 904 386 1726 ou écoutez tous les samedis dorénavant sur le 1530 AM Radio Puissance Inter, l'Internet et Audio Now. L'émission Real Estate de 11h à midi, animée par Jacques Guillaume lui-même. Alors là, soyez un couple heureux, placé dans la maison de vos rêves.